Well, good evening, everybody, and welcome to another educational session on the Beezone. And tonight in our studio, we have a very, very special guest, and she is the author, McDonnell, of Tasting the Moon, which is her book on her time and her life with Adida Samraj and in the community of Adida's devotees for many, many years. And it was published in 2010?
I believe so.
Yes. And we're fortunate to have her here tonight to talk about the book and to talk about Meg. So welcome, Meg, and happy to have you here.
Thank you, Ed. Thank you very much for having me here and for persisting in getting me here and for all the good work that you do on Beezone.
Well, thank you. It's been a pleasure to have a conversation with you to get you here. It was quite an ordeal. Meg is a lady on the hill, and she doesn't get off the hill much. So we're very fortunate to have her here because this is a superb book, and I believe there's only 3 books, of my knowledge, on by devotees on Adida. But this book particularly, you're an editor, you're a writer by craft and by training and by genetics. Pretty
Yes.
much your father is a
Yes.
professor at the university. So.
Yeah, my father's a Shakespeare scholar and an English lit prof. Was retired, and then took up a second career as a Jungian therapist. And he brought all that expertise into helping me as the editor of the book. And that was one of the great treasures for me about doing this book, was the opportunity to work with him that way. So.
Yeah, did you initially go to him to edit, or did you go to someplace else, or?
Well, I have a friend who's told me that there's obviously an incredible story, because Beloved Adida is the focus of the story in the book. But he said there's also another story to tell about the writing of the book.
Right.
And that was a long and involved process for me. Didn't happen overnight. I, for many years, had a growing sense of obligation to share the incredible treasure of wisdom and blessings that I receive from Beloved Adida, and to do that in the form of writing my story, the story of my time with him. But it is inherently such a huge challenge to write about him. He's such an incredible being, and by his very nature, so multidimensional, and touched on so many areas of life with such genius that I felt quite intimidated by the challenge of writing about him. Right. So I kind of had to back myself into I kind of had to trick myself in a certain kind of way into the writing of the book. So I was well into the process of working on what eventually became Tasting the Moon when I realized, oh, I'm going to do this, and it's actually going to be a book, and therefore it really needs an editor. And let's see, what editor could I afford on my budget? I know, someone who really loves me.
And I think in the book, in the back of the book or somewhere in the book, you mentioned a lady by the name of Marilyn Ferguson who you were interviewing or had some conference with, and she was the one who kind of gave you the impetus to actually do the book or do something with it?
Well, I met Marilyn Ferguson, author of Aquarian Conspiracy, which was a very defining and international best-selling and mind-expanding book for a lot of people in its day. Right. So I had a tremendous amount of respect for her as a thinker and as a writer. And I had the privilege of escorting her into a sitting occasion with Beloved Adida, and that's how we met.